So today I'm at Honda and Toyota, and I want to show you something that maybe some of you don't know, because they are two of the most sought after brands in this car market. Here we go, this is what I've been looking for. I want to check this RAV4, but even they are going to have difficulties navigating what's about to come.
And the big question now is, how will these potential tariffs impact U.S. businesses and consumers?
And check this out right here, this is a Tacoma. And a Tacoma has a Mexico problem.
One executive in the industry texted me earlier and he said, this is going to drive the auto industry into a recession.
So I like to check this Honda dealership often. I actually like this dealership. I have bought a brand new vehicle from this Honda dealership about 7 or 8 months ago. But I like to look at their inventory levels. And what we know from Honda is right now, their day supply of inventory goes up. Even some of the most sought after brands. You think Honda, you think Toyota, you think Lexus. Even those brands right now are getting more inventory to their dealer bodies. And recently Toyota, one of these big sought after brands, they just released that they're going to be pumping more inventory to their dealers. They even told their dealers, look, get prepared, you're going to have more inventory. The quote that they used was, build more, sell more. And that's very telling in this market, because right now, even these brands, even these vehicles, some of which are hard to find right now, they're starting to go back to the volume model. And this is what the car market used to look like back when you could get massive discounts, back when dealerships had to actually pump out volume to make money. And now what we're going to see is that margins are going to start to shrink, volume's going to go up, and that's better for the consumer. It all depends on what price hikes are going to come out of these manufacturers. If they're going to decide to, okay, we're going to raise prices because of tariffs, or are we going to eat some and then pull our margins back and try to do the volume game again? It's all going to depend on what they decide to do. And from what I've read, some of the videos that I've watched on YouTube and stuff like that, I've heard that CRVs are still kind of difficult to get. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've got one sitting in front of me right here, and I want to look at it and look at price points. 2025 CRV hybrid 2-wheel drive sport. MSRP on this one is $39,000, but I mean, it's right here. I know they've got a few others, I think, over there, so maybe this is just a good dealership. I don't know. I would assume that CRVs might not be the hardest thing in the world to get. I know RAV4s, 12 months ago, you couldn't get them at all. Now you can see RAV4s at a lot of these Toyota dealerships, so probably not the case. And I want to show you something that maybe some of you don't know, but every manufacturer, when they bring their cars out onto the lot here, this is a Tacoma, they actually have to put to where their parts come from, where assembly goes. And on this Tacoma, US Canada parts 25%, Japan 40%, Mexico 20%. That's your parts right there. That's where that's the percentage breakdown of parts. But here's the important thing for a lot of these Tacomas: assembly point, Mexico. And here we go. Check this. This has been one of the vehicles that's been very difficult to find too. Over the last couple times I've been here, I've seen a few of them. But this is a Grand Highlander. It's a LE edition, so this is the cheapest one that they're going to produce. $44,000. I want to see where the assembly point is and where the parts are from. It's going to be right here. So we have 65% US Canada, 25% Japan. But here's the biggie. Assembly point is actually in the US. So this one is going to have a relatively low tariff impact on it. And that's good for pricing power for a lot of these Toyota dealerships, where a lot of the manufacturing, a lot of the assembly comes out of the US. But we still have truck, Mexico, and Canada problems with your RAV4s. And I want to check this, because Tundra is also a problem right now for Toyota. And we have 55% Canada and the US, Japan 15, Mexico 15. That's interesting. I haven't seen this split where you have parts coming from Mexico and parts coming from Canada. And then the final assembly point, Texas. So that's good, at least for the Tundra, that they're not going to be hit with that assembly plant location problem. One thing I will say, about 7-ish months ago, when we came here and bought my wife's Honda Odyssey from this dealership, is that, I mean, I would walk the lot and look at inventory, and there were empty spaces in this section of the lot everywhere. Now, we still had a front row of used vehicles. Those are still here, but all of these are new. We got 2 empty spaces right here, but those are all new. This is all new. All this was empty. This was all empty about 6-7 months ago. And I do want to check some of these other models and see where they're actually, see, the assembly point right here is Japan. and all the parts are Japan. So this is 100% Japan right here. No Mexico, no Canada in any of that. Here's I think this is a Camry. See the Camry roll. Assembly point here in the U.S. and parts, Canada, US 55, and Japan 30%. So interesting to look at some of these stickers to see where some of these vehicles are assembled and where the parts come from. So there's going to be a big positive in this market for a lot of these manufacturers, but also a lot of negatives for manufacturers depending on where they're assembling their vehicles, where their parts actually come from. You see on this is a Honda Odyssey, it's a Touring. MSRP on this is $48,800. But you can see that 70% of the parts are US and Canadian. They don't actually split out how much Canadian, but the assembly point, that's going to be very important. This one is in Lincoln, Alabama. And in a lot of cases for a lot of these manufacturers, yeah, they might make a lot of their parts overseas, but they actually assemble a lot of their vehicles either in the US, in Canada, or in Mexico. It makes it a lot easier for them to actually ship product because they don't have to worry about shipping them across seas. So they'll make a lot of their vehicles. You think Toyota with their Tacomas in Mexico, Toyota with RAV4s are in Canada. We see that Odyssey right there, it's in the US. And with this US model, they're not going to be subject to the tariffs. But over there with Toyota, we're going to see that RAV4s, if they're making their RAV4s in Ontario, Canada, which is I think where they're assembling them, yeah, they're going to get hit with tariffs. If they're making their Tacomas in Mexico, yeah, they're going to get hit with tariffs. And they have to make the decision now, okay, well, do we raise prices? Do we lower our margins? Or do we move more plants into the US? Do we move more assembly into the US? One of those things has to be true for them to go forward. They either raise prices, make less money, or they have to figure out how to get production into the US. And in that case, usually that means they're also going to lower their margins or have to increase prices. So either way, for the consumer, prices are going to be raised at some of these manufacturers no matter what happens, if they just raise prices and because of the tariffs, or if they bring production into the US, because it costs a lot more for them to produce these vehicles here in the US than it does anywhere else. We got a row of brand new cars right there, and then this back row right here are also new cars. So you can see, I mean, boots on the ground image right here that dealerships are getting more inventory. It's starting to be even at Honda, even at Toyota, where we can't play the supply and demand game from these dealerships. But what is also happening is because these tariffs are in the system, well, a lot of these dealerships, because they know that a lot of the vehicles that they're going to have coming in are going to have those tariffs on them, they're going to be more expensive, then that's causing a lot of them to be really non-negotiable on a lot of the vehicles that they have sitting on their lot right now. And they can use that, whether it's true or not, they can use that chip whenever they're playing, where they can say, okay, well, you know, tariffs are coming system, so you better buy this one right now, because 2 months later when we get our new shipment in, well, they're going to be more expensive. So this is the cheapest price you're going to be able to get, and it's going to be across the whole nation. All the other Honda dealers, all the other Toyota dealers, prices are going to go up, so you better buy this right now. And now that's the new sales tactic that a lot of these salesmen can use on you. But I still believe, even in this market, even with the uncertainty that's coming from a lot of these manufacturers, from the administration, you can still get vehicles under MSRP. You just might have to search a few more extra dealerships now, because negotiability, because of uncertainty, has now gone down. And one thing I've seen a lot at these Toyota dealerships that I've been at is often they have plenty of Land Cruisers. And that's surprising to me, because I would think Land Cruiser would be something that's very highly sought after. Maybe it still is. Maybe these dealerships that I'm checking, they just were able to grab some good stock of them. But anyway, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these here. And I would assume they probably don't want to overload the front of the lot with them. They might have even some more, but let's check it out. Land Cruiser 1958 edition, four-wheel drive hybrid on this thing. $63,725. But another thing I want to check is where they're assembled, where the parts are. Japan, 100% Japan, and assembly also Japan. So they're not going to be hit with the the Mexico, the Canada situation, but still from overseas. And here we go. This is what I've been looking for. I want to check this RAV4. Anyway, this one's a 2025, definitely 2025, limited front wheel drive. MSRP on this is $43,131, but I want to check where parts come from. US, Canada parts 70%, Japan's 10%. But here's the thing. Here's the problem right here. The assembly point is in Canada. And here's the difference between, you think like a RAV4 and a Tacoma. Your Tacoma is assembled in Mexico. RAV4 is assembled in Canada. They're going to have a very similar amount of tariffs that are put on them. But the thing about it is, a RAV4, because of the high desirability of it, because the limited supply of it, and that's from the demand, right? Is that, okay, maybe the RAV4 with Toyota, they have pricing power, so they can move those prices up and still be able to sell through, because we still don't have enough RAV4s in the system. You still have to, I mean, and a lot of times fight to get a good deal on a RAV4. But a Tacoma, if you want to get 10, 15, maybe even 20% off, you don't have to fight for that. Last time I was up here to talk to a sales specialist, he said, you know what, Tacoma, Tundra, buy one, get one free. You know what, I'll just go get you the keys. You just choose one, just take it. We want them off the lot. We want them off our floor plan. But you're not going to have that pricing power on these Tacomas like you will on the RAV4. So I'm very interested to see, as we get our new allocations of these Tacomas, Tundras, even the RAV4s over the next 6 months, what Toyota's going to do with their pricing, what negotiability is going to come out of these dealerships, because they can still look at this Tacoma if there's a customer that's coming up and say, okay, well, we have this one right now that wasn't hit by tariffs, so you better buy it, because the next round that is coming up, well, it's going to be all tariffed up, so it's going to be more expensive. And that's what you're going to hear a lot now from a lot of these salespeople, that a lot of these new vehicles are going to be all tariffed up. So you're going to have to buy now before the prices go up. I wouldn't fall for it. See this? We have some Tacomas right here, but look, you don't have a lot of RAV4s. You don't have a lot of Camrys. You got six sedans right here. You got some more over there. You got some Land Cruisers. Maybe we can talk about an issue with them, but here's what we know the issue is with. Check out that whole line right there. That's all Tacomas. And then if you walk through over here, tons and tons of Tundras, and they've got more stored elsewhere. Toyota has a truck problem right now, and then you add on to this truck problem that, okay, it looks like they're having a hard time actually selling these Tacomas. Then you add in assembly point in Mexico. Well, Toyota has a decision to make. Well, do we maybe spread out the amount of tariff hit that's going to come from these Tacomas that might make us actually raise our price? Do we spread that out across all the vehicles and just kind of eat it? Or do you designate this Tacoma that is assembled in Mexico? Well, do we raise the price on this Tacoma that's already one of our slower movers? Or do we eat it and then just make a lot less money on this Tacoma that's also still sitting for a while? It's a very difficult place for these manufacturers to be in, because also you can have the thing, okay, well, let's not do either. Let's bring production and assembly points of these Tacomas right here, and let's put it in the US. And then that way we don't even have to worry about the tariffs, right? Well, then you have to worry about US labor. So in that sense, you're still going to increase your prices, and it might even be that US labor costs so much more than even the tariffs would be on these vehicles that it doesn't make sense dollar and cents wise. Doesn't make sense dollar and cents wise? Yeah, that works. That you would even go that route. So really, a lot of these manufacturers, even the best of the best, and I would consider Toyota the best of the best in this car market, that even they are going to have very difficult decisions to make. And even they have problems right now. And these are the problems. These are the problems. It's going to be a hard road for a lot of these manufacturers. And one thing I'm surprised I haven't started seeing more of at a lot of these Toyota dealerships is the new 4Runner. And I mean, I've seen one of them at another dealership. It didn't have any add-ons, anything like that, and it looks like they probably could put add-ons on these 4Runners, because I just don't see them here. Maybe this is a dealership that just moves through them as soon as they get them. But the other dealership that's probably 20 miles from here, they had one out there and it was like $48,000. And to my surprise, it was still there. $48,000, no add-ons. Not cheap, not cheap, don't get me wrong. But for this market, it seems like a $50,000 SUV that is highly desirable. Probably going to sell it, and it's probably at this point, I was there a week ago, probably gone at this point. But I'm very surprised at a dealership like this that does lots and lots of volume, usually has lots of product. I mean, you see the diversity of product that they're actually able to get. Yeah, they have too many trucks, but they still have stuff that a lot of other Toyota dealerships don't have. You think like Prius. Prius is one of the things that is still hard to find, and they've, over the last 6 months or so, just about every time I've been up here, I've seen at least one Prius up here. No 4Runners though, very surprised about that. And one thing that you will notice at a dealership like a Honda or a Toyota is that all these vehicles are going to be 2025s. They don't have any 2024s left over, or in some manufacturer cases, 2023 is still left over, brand new ones. In the case of like Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, and even like these F-150s that are at a lot of these Ford dealerships. I can't understand the model that Ford, that Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, Stellantis chose to pursue, where they were just overloading all these dealerships with these trucks that these dealers, they know these dealers can't sell them, but it's just a massive difference that you'll see between more desirable brands like Honda, like Toyota, versus your Ford and your Ram, where you're not going to see any old stock over here. You don't have a deal. This dealership is not in trouble right now with old stock that they have to figure out what to do. And then the same dealership group that's up there, that's a Jeep, Dodge, and Ram dealership. I mean, I like that dealership too. I've talked to a lot of their salespeople, but the dynamic of when I talk to those salespeople of what's going on in the market versus when I talk to Honda salespeople, when I talk to Toyota salespeople, it's like they're in two different worlds. It's like, okay, well, over here, business is still good. We're moving product. It might be a little bit slower than it was 12 months ago, but we're getting more inventory. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. We're getting more inventory. We can sell more vehicles that people actually want. That's what I'm hearing at Honda and Toyota from their salespeople. And what I'm hearing up at Stellantis, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, is that, okay, well, we've got tons of inventory still. We're trying to sell down, lots of incentives. We are taking lots of discounts off of a lot of these Gladiators. Still having a hard time moving them. It seems like we're moving a little bit more because we're able to lower prices a little bit more, but we've got 2024 still sitting up here. Not sure what we're going to do because we got 2025s rolling in too. So it's almost like I talked to one of their, even the fleet sales guys, and he's like, well, fleet's still doing good, but over there's some days where retail side they sell one, maybe two cars. It's just very slow. And the atmosphere, the attitude between a salesperson at a Stellantis store right now and at a Toyota and Honda store, two different worlds. And it comes down to manufacturer, product, identity. Identity is something I talk about a lot with Jeep. Changed their identity and lost a lot of consumers. Priced out a lot of the consumers that they know. Honda, Toyota really hasn't done that. They still have the base that they had. Even with them raising prices, they didn't go for a whole different kind of customer. And I mean, you're seeing it now where here's a Toyota dealership. So they've got like Prius, Corolla, some Camrys, a few of those. They have a lot of Land Cruisers for whatever reason, and then tons and tons and tons of Toyota Tacomas, Tundras. I mean, you see on the side over there, that's the stuff that they're not selling, the really expensive trucks. But the stuff like the RAV4s that were sitting here, like the Camrys, the Corollas that were sitting here, that's the stuff they can move. They don't really necessarily have an identity problem here at Toyota, but Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, you can hear it. You can hear it from their salespeople. Big time identity problem, stuff that they can't sell. They need cheaper cars. That's what I hear from a lot of these salespeople. We need help from the manufacturer. We need lower prices. We need lower prices. We need lower prices. You don't hear that from Toyota and Honda. And here's the thing, at this Toyota dealership, these are all used cars. They still have tons and tons of used vehicles for sale. This is between actually the Honda and the Toyota dealer. But you're gonna have a scenario, this is funny. See all that pollen? I hate North Carolina. Pollen everywhere, in my nose, in my face. But anyway, you have the situation where, okay, a lot of these new vehicles are going to go up in price. And what is that going to do to the upper end of the used car market? Well, it's going to push those prices up too. And selfishly, I'm a used car dealer. I hate this. I hate everything about this because it's going to push a lot of the used vehicles on the upper end up. And what happens is there's a massive domino effect that happens through the used car market, because you have dealerships that want to buy the upper end of the market, but then they find that, okay, their consumers can't afford the price increases, so they tear down a little bit. So they'll buy stuff maybe that's a little bit lower cost, so their consumers can get approved for the loans that they're trying to write for them. And then you have mid-tier dealers that are like, okay, well, I mean, the big guys now are coming down into to my range of stuff, so now it's getting more expensive. So then they go down to the bottom tier of the cars that are bought, which is what I buy. $5,000 and under is what my car dealership does. And what ends up happening, and it happened over the last 2 or 3 years when we had all this craziness, well, all those mid-range dealers will come and run up all my stuff because my stuff looks dirt cheap to them, right? And they'll come in, they'll buy it, and stuff that's $2,000 that I should be able to buy at auction, well, it runs up to $3,000. And then it gets to a price point where I can't buy it for my consumer. I hate everything that's going on in this market right now. I hate the uncertainty that could be coming into this market, and I hate that I believe that all these prices in some capacity are going to go up. Hopefully it's short-lived, because what I think is going to happen, that a lot of these manufacturers are going to try to push these tariffs, push these savings onto the consumer, but the consumer is already saying no. So if you raise the prices, they're just going to say no even harder, right? So I think it's going to be very short-lived, but I think in the short-lived amount of time, it's going to be very difficult for consumers. It's going to be very difficult for new franchise dealers. It's going to be difficult for them because, I mean, they have to raise prices. They're going to sell fewer vehicles. And then it's going to be very difficult for also used car dealers in the short term, because I think supply is going to come down. The reason why is because these new car dealers are going to sell fewer cars. Fewer trade-ins means prices at auction for me are going to go up. That means prices for you as a consumer, even if you're a used car consumer. I mean, what's getting hit right now is the new car dealers, the new car franchises, the new car manufacturers. But the whole car market's connected. If these guys sell fewer cars, then I get fewer trade-ins, supply is down, still the same amount of used car dealers that have to eat. Well, prices are going to go up because there's fewer cars for us to bid on them. That's going to push the whole market up. That's what I hate about this whole thing. And selfishly, I would like to have lower prices so I can sell more cars, so I can get more cars to my customers for that $5,000 and under range. But if prices go up across the board, I'm not going to be able to do it.